From the outside, it probably looked simple. You see a woman walk into a wedding on the arm of her ex. You see laughter that is a little too loud, smiles that last a little too long, poses that are a little too close. Then, halfway through the night, you see her husband walk in, wearing his best suit, with another woman on his arm. You see them dance almost shoulder to shoulder. You see his new partner laughing up at him while the wife's smile falls apart. From the outside, it looks like a neat little story. She played games, he played back, she lost. So, let me give you the inside version, the slow-motion version, from the person who created the whole mess and still, somehow, keeps trying to feel misunderstood. Me. The whole thing started with a message from my cousin Emma. Save the date. I want you and Andrew there. No excuses. She was getting married in early summer. Classic church, big reception, too many flowers, loud relatives, the works. I was actually excited. I like weddings. I like getting dressed up, feeling like part of something bright. I imagined us there together, me in a new dress, Andrew in his navy suit, holding my hand during the ceremony, maybe finally dancing with me without me dragging him. Then, about a month before the wedding, his work calendar exploded. He works in finance, which basically means there is always some critical thing hanging over us. But this time it was bigger. End of quarter reports, a client trip, some internal presentation that apparently determined whether the company would keep funding his department. Every evening, he came home with his laptop still open in his head. One Tuesday night, I reminded him about the wedding while he was answering emails on the couch. Hey, I said, trying to sound light. Emma's big day is in 3 weeks. I need to send her our meal choices. He barely looked up. When is it again? He asked. The first Saturday in June, I said. I told you already, and she wants us on the family table. We can't cancel last minute. He rubbed his forehead. That's right around the presentation, he muttered. That week is going to be a lot. I tried to joke. Yes, but what is more important? Your cousin's once-in-a-lifetime vows, or another slide deck? He gave a small smile. I'm not saying I will not go, he said carefully. I am just saying there is a chance I will have to work that weekend. A real chance. There it was, the sentence that stuck in my brain and started twisting itself. A chance. Have to work. Real chance. To him, it was just honesty. To me, it sounded like a preemptive excuse. So you are not coming? I pushed. I did not say that, he replied, already turning back to his screen. I will try, but I do not want to promise and then disappoint you. That line, weirdly, annoyed me more than if he had just said no. I will try. I wanted certainty. I wanted, of course I will be there. We will figure it out. Instead, I felt like a low priority he was carefully managing. Over the next 2 weeks, the topic came up again and again. Me, have you checked your schedule for Emma's wedding? Him, that week is still full. I am doing my best. Me, you know you do not have to stay in the office all weekend. Him, it is not about the office, it is about deadlines. It is different. I know he was stressed. I know he was under pressure. But every time he said, I will try, another small piece of me felt like I was begging for attention instead of just having it. One night, 3 weeks before the wedding, I pushed a little harder. We were eating leftovers at the table, his laptop open beside his plate. Emma messaged me again, I said. She needs final confirmations. Who is coming, who is not, because of the table plan? He nodded without looking up. Tell her I am a maybe, he said. A maybe? I repeated. You are family. It is not a little office gathering. It is her wedding. You cannot be a maybe. I am trying to be realistic, he said. If a big client asks for a Monday morning meeting, I cannot just say no because there was a party on Saturday. That is not how this works. It is not a party, I snapped. It is a wedding. He sighed. I know, he said, and I want to be there. But if I make a big mistake now, that affects us too. The mortgage, our plans, all of it. I need you to understand that. On some level, I did understand. I am not a child. I know bills do not pay themselves. But there is this quiet little voice inside me that hates being practical all the time. That voice heard only one thing. Work matters. Your cousin's wedding, and by extension you, can be moved around. I did not say that. Instead, I said something like, "Fine, I will just tell her I'm going alone." He looked up then. "You do not have to go alone," he said quickly. "Ask one of your friends. You should still go. Do not stay home because of me." That line should have felt thoughtful. Instead, my brain translated it into, "He is fine with me going without him. Less effort for him." It is amazing how stubborn your mind can be when it wants to be offended. 2 days later, the universe delivered the worst possible test at the worst possible time. I was scrolling through my phone on my lunch break when a familiar name popped up. Adam, my ex. We dated in my mid-20s. He was all charm and spontaneity and last-minute road trips, the kind of person who could talk his way into and out of almost anything. We crashed and burned, obviously. I wanted stability, he wanted adventure, you know the story. We had not spoken in more than a year. So when I saw his name, my stomach did a strange little flip. Adam. Hey, random question. Are you going to Emma's wedding? I stared at it for a solid minute. He was friends with my cousin's fiancée back in college. I knew that. They had stayed loosely in touch. I typed, erased, typed again, then finally wrote, "Yes. Why?" His reply came fast. "Got an invite, but not sure if I should go alone. Thought you and Andrew would be there. Safety in numbers." Safety in numbers. I could almost hear his voice saying it, casual, amused. For a moment, I imagined answering in the most mature way possible. "Yes, we are going, but this is my husband's family. I think it is better if we keep some space. No hard feelings." That would have been the adult answer. Instead, I wrote, "Actually, Andrew is not sure he can make it. Work stuff. I might be going alone. Adam." "Alone, huh?" That single word was like a lit match thrown into a room filled with old feelings. I tried to sound flat. "Yeah, it is annoying, but what can you do?" He wrote, "Well, if you don't want to go alone, we could go together. I promise to behave at least 60% of the time." I could have shut it down. I could have said, "No, that would be weird." My heart was pounding. My brain was running through excuses. It is just a wedding. We will not be alone. There will be 100 people. Andrew said I should find someone to go with. Yes, he meant a friend. No, I did not care. So I took a breath and did the thing I now claim was practical, but honestly, was just reckless. "Maybe," I wrote. "Let me think." That night, I waited for a window to bring up the wedding again. Andrew got home late. His tie was loose, his eyes tired, his expression somewhere between determined and worn down. "How was your day?" I asked. "Busy," he said. "Tomorrow will be worse." We ate dinner in near silence. Every time I thought about asking, "Are you absolutely sure you cannot come?" I pictured him rubbing his temples and saying, "We have already talked about this." So instead, I went with a different angle. "About Emma's wedding," I said casually. "If you cannot make it, do you really not mind if I go with someone else? As in, not alone?" He frowned slightly. "What do you mean, someone else?" he asked. "Like a friend," I said quickly, "or someone we both know. Just not me sitting by myself while everyone else has a +1. He nodded. "Of course, I told you that," he said. "I do not want you to skip it for my sake. Take a friend, take your sister, anyone you feel comfortable with." He said friend. My brain heard anyone. I stopped there. I did not say, "What about Adam?" I told myself that not asking directly was avoiding unnecessary conflict. What it actually was, avoiding hearing a clear no I would have ignored anyway. Later that night, when he showered, I texted Adam. Okay. Tentative, yes. Do not make it weird. He replied within seconds. You know I live to make things weird, but I'll be on my best behavior. Pick you up at 3 that day. I bit my lip, hesitated for about 3 seconds, then wrote, Make it 2:30. My family likes to inspect people. We were joking, but under it all, I knew exactly what I was doing. I was building a story in my head where I was the neglected wife who deserved a little attention. I was ignoring the fact that my husband never said, yes, go to this wedding with your ex. I turned his general permission into the exact loophole I wanted. The morning of the wedding, Andrew was still in full work mode. He was at the dining table by 8 a.m., laptop open, coffee half empty, forehead already wrinkled. You look nice, he said absent-mindedly when I came out of the bedroom to grab breakfast. I was still in leggings and an oversized shirt, hair piled on top of my head. This is not the dress, I joked. This is the preparation uniform. He smiled briefly, eyes flicking back to the screen. I lingered for a second, waiting for him to ask about the real dress, to show some curiosity. He did not. Will you be around when I leave? I asked. Maybe, he said, tapping his keyboard. I have a call at 2. If it runs long, I might be locked in the study. So there it was. He might not even see me ready. I went back to the bedroom and opened the garment bag. The dress was a choice, deep emerald, fitted at the waist, off-shoulder neckline. Elegant, but not subtle. I had bought it specifically because I wanted to be noticed, not just by my family, by Andrew, by everyone. As I did my makeup, I kept checking the time, trying to guess when Adam would ring the bell. A part of me hoped Andrew would pop into the bedroom and say something like, "Let me see. Show me." He did not. By 2:15, I was ready. Hair done, dress on, heels by the door, tiny clutch with everything I needed. I walked to the living room. He was on a video call, headphones in, facing the bookshelf. He turned his head slightly as I entered his peripheral vision and paused, just for a second. His eyes moved up and down, taking me in. I pretended to straighten a bracelet to hide how much I cared about that look. He pressed mute and pulled one side of his headphones off. You look beautiful, he said, and he meant it. Something in my chest softened then. For a split second, I thought about saying, cancel the call. Please, come with me instead. But then he added, I'm sorry I cannot be there today, really. The softness turned into something prickly. It is fine, I said, shrugging. You have real life to handle. I will survive sparkling lights and cake somehow. His jaw tensed slightly. We can celebrate with them another time, he said. Just us. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. A message from Adam. Outside. I swallowed. Okay, I have to go, I said, suddenly aware of how loud my heart was beating. Andrew glanced at the clock in the corner of his screen. Already? He asked. The ceremony is at 4. They told guests to be there early, I lied. Pictures, traffic, you know. He nodded, pushed his chair back and stood up. Have fun, he said, leaning in to kiss my cheek. I let him. His hand brushed my arm, and for a moment I wanted him to ask, Who is picking you up? He didn't. I walked to the door. He put his headphones back on, the call still going in the background. I opened the door, stepped out, and closed it gently. Adam was leaning against his car, just like in a past life. Black shirt, dark jacket, tie surprisingly neat. He whistled quietly when he saw me. Wow, he said. Your husband let you leave the house like that. The sentence was meant to be playful, but it landed on top of all the other thoughts I'd been chewing on. He is not my keeper, I said sharply. He trusts me. Adam raised his hands in a mock surrender. Relax, he said. It was a compliment. I slid into the passenger seat and told myself this was all still under control. We reached the church early. He offered me his arm as we walked up the steps. I hesitated for half a second, then took it. People were already gathering at the entrance. Cousins, aunts, friends from school. I could feel eyes on us. My Aunt Lena, who knows everything and everyone, spotted us first. "Nora," she exclaimed, pulling me into a hug. "You look radiant, and this must be—" She let the sentence hang in the air like a hook. I introduced him calmly. "This is Adam," I said. "A friend from before. He knows Daniel from way back." I did not say my ex. I did not need to. The look she gave me said she remembered. "Ah, yes," she said slowly. "We have met. Once. Nice to see you again." Her tone was polite. Her eyes were doing math. Adam was charming, of course. He shook hands, laughed, remembered names, helped Emma's grandmother up the steps when she struggled. Everyone warmed up to him, at least on the surface. We took our seats in the middle of the church. "Still no sign of the husband?" he whispered as the musician started playing. "He had work," I said. "He might come to the reception if he finishes in time." Adam raised an eyebrow. "And he was fine with you coming with me?" he asked. "He told me to bring someone," I said, staring straight ahead. That was true in the most flexible possible version of reality. He nodded, but I could tell he did not fully buy it. The ceremony started. The bride walked down the aisle. People cried, vows were exchanged. For a little while, I forgot about the triangle I had drawn around myself. My phone stayed silent in my clutch, no missed calls, no new messages from Andrew. I told myself that meant he was still working, too busy to even glance at his screen. A small, spiteful part of me was almost satisfied with that. The reception hall was beautiful. High ceilings, fairy lights, white tablecloths, a dance floor in the middle. Emma had arranged for us to sit at the extended family table, close enough to feel special, but far enough from the head table not to be too visible. I was acutely aware of every glance when we walked in. People's eyes moved from my face to Adam's hand, on the small of my back and back again. I held my head a little higher. It is a terrible thing to admit, but I liked it. I liked the idea that people who had watched me grow up, marry the stable, dependable man, now saw me with someone who brought a different kind of energy. Adam leaned in to make jokes during the speeches. He topped up my drink. He pulled my chair out for me. All those small gestures that make you feel like the most important person in someone's immediate world. Every time I thought, maybe I should step back a little, he did something that made me feel seen. One of my cousins asked quietly at the bar, "Is Andrew really not coming?" "Probably not," I said, trying to sound casual. "He is buried in work. At least I have company, right?" They gave me that look. The one where they are judging you but pretending not to. "Right," she said slowly. "Company." I rolled my eyes. "It is not like that," I added quickly. "We are just friends. Andrew knows we are here." Again, part truth, part performance. After dinner, the DJ called everyone to the dance floor. First dance, parents' dances, then the all-couples song. Adam offered his hand. "Shall we?" he asked. I hesitated. "I do not know," I said. "People already think things." "Let them think," he replied easily. "We know what it is, or what it is not." That line, "we know what it is not," felt like permission, so I took his hand. We danced, not pressed together, but not far apart either. His hand rested on my back. Mine rested on his shoulder. It was polite. It was friendly. It was also full of history no one in that room could fully see. As we moved across the floor, I suddenly caught sight of myself in one of the tall, mirrored panels. For a split second, I saw what everyone else probably saw. A married woman dancing with someone who was very obviously not her husband, looking a little too comfortable. I looked away. If Andrew cared that much, he would be here, I told myself. It is strange how quickly you can turn someone else's absence into your own excuse. It happened about an hour into the dancing. The room was warm, full of movement and music. My back was to the entrance when the doors at the far end opened. I only noticed because the air near the ceiling draft shifted slightly. making one of the fairy lights sway. Some people turned their heads. I saw their faces before I saw him. Surprise, curiosity, that small, sharp smile people get when something interesting is about to happen. Then I turned. Andrew stood in the doorway, navy suit, white shirt, tie, the one I bought him last year. His hair was styled the way I like. He looked like he had actually taken time to get ready, not just rushed from his desk to the venue. For a second, the music might as well have stopped. My stomach dropped so fast I felt a little lightheaded. He was not alone. Beside him stood a woman I recognized from his work events. Hannah, pretty, polished, confident. The kind of woman who always has neat nails and perfect posture. She was wearing a deep blue dress that matched his suit almost too well, like someone had planned it. Her hand rested loosely on his forearm. She was smiling, but also clearly aware that they had just walked into something. My first instinct was not guilt, it was anger. He had told me he was too busy. He had told me it was not realistic. And now here he was, not just showing up, but showing up with someone else. Next to me, Adam muttered under his breath, "So that is Andrew, I am guessing." "Obviously," I whispered. He glanced at Hannah. "And that is—" "His co-worker," I said quickly. "She is probably just giving him a ride." Adam's silence told me he did not believe that for a second. Andrew's eyes scanned the room. For one long, slow heartbeat, I hoped he might not see us right away. That he might get pulled into greetings, distracted, delayed. He did not. His gaze locked onto us almost immediately. He did not scowl. He did not glare. He did not look broken. He smiled. A polite, closed-mouthed smile that said, "I see everything I need to see." Then, instead of walking toward our table, he led Hannah straight onto the dance floor. The DJ transitioned into another slow song, clearly delighted that the dance floor would stay full. Andrew said something to Hannah. She laughed, nodded, and they stepped into the crowd, a few meters from us. "Do you want to leave the floor?" Adam asked quietly. "No," I said automatically. "Why would I?" "Because your husband is here," he replied, not unkindly, "with another woman, and we are in the center of the room." My pride flared up. "If he can be here with her, I can be here with you," I said. "That is not exactly the win you think it is," he murmured. We kept dancing, but it was not a dance anymore. It was a strange kind of standoff, two separate circles of movement barely a few steps apart. Every time Andrew turned with the music, I caught glimpses of his face. He looked relaxed. Too relaxed. He was listening to something Hannah was saying, smiling with real amusement. His hand rested comfortably at her waist. Their steps matched easily, like they had danced before. I waited for him to look at me directly. When he finally did, it was not the way I expected. He met my eyes briefly, gave that same polite smile, then deliberately turned his attention back to Hannah. That small, controlled dismissal hurt more than shouting would have. The song ended. Applause, laughter. The DJ switched to something faster. People broke apart, forming clumps of friends rather than couples. I thought, this is my chance to go over there, pull him aside, explain. Before I could move, Emma appeared at my elbow, cheeks flushed from dancing, veil slightly askew. "Nora," she said in a stage whisper, "what is happening?" "What do you mean?" I asked, even though I knew exactly what she meant. She darted a glance toward Andrew and Hannah. "Why is your husband here with someone from his office?" she hissed. "And why did you arrive with that?" She jerked her chin subtly toward Adam. "Without telling anyone. My mother is in the corner doing full detective work with my aunt." My defense rose to my lips automatically. "He told me he was too busy to come," I said. "He would not commit. He said he might not make it at all. I did not want to show up alone after that." "So you invited your ex?" she asked, eyes widening. "He is not just my ex, he is—" She cut me off. "Whatever he is, this is a wedding, not an episode of some messy show," she said. "You brought drama to my day. Fix it. Now. Or at least keep it from getting worse. Then she vanished in a swirl of lace, leaving behind the faint smell of flowers and disapproval. I stood there, pulse pounding, caught between 3 different directions. Adam touched my arm. "Do you want a drink?" he asked. "Or some fresh air?" I shook my head, eyes still fixed on Andrew. He was at the bar now, ordering drinks. Hannah leaned on the counter, chatting with someone from work who clearly recognized her. I hated how normal they looked together. I decided to walk over. I told Adam to wait at the table. He did not argue. Each step across the dance floor felt like walking onto a stage in front of an audience that already knew the ending. I reached the bar just as Andrew received 2 glasses from the bartender. "Hi," I said. He turned, as if surprised to find me there. "Hi," he replied, like we were acquaintances meeting at some neutral event. A beat of silence stretched between us. "You came," I said, as if that were a crime. "I did," he said. The presentation finished earlier than expected. I realized I could make it. "With her?" I asked, glancing pointedly at Hannah, who had stepped slightly aside but was clearly listening. "She was already dressed for a different gathering, and she offered me a ride," he said calmly. "It seemed practical. You like practical things, right?" The emphasis on that word was not subtle. "Could you give us a minute?" I asked Hannah, forcing a polite smile. "Of course," she said quickly. "I will find the restroom." She left, but only far enough that she could pretend not to watch, while still seeing us out of the corner of her eye. "So," I said, turning back to Andrew, "you told me you were too busy to come. Then you show up with her. Do you know how that looks?" "Interesting question," he said. "Do you know how it looks to show up with Adam?" The way he said Adam's name made me flinch. "He is a friend," I said. "Is that what we are calling him?" Andrew asked. "Because last time we talked seriously about him, you were crying in the kitchen saying you did not know why you still answered his messages." "That was a long time ago," I said quickly. "We moved past that. I told you we are fine now." "No," he corrected. "You told me you had blocked him, that you were done, that you understood how much this topic hurt me. That is what you said." My mouth went dry. "I did block him," I insisted. "For a while. We reconnected recently as friends. It is not like that anymore." He studied my face. "Friends do not usually hold on to each other like that on the dance floor," he said quietly. "We were just dancing," I snapped, a little too loud. "It is a wedding. People dance. I came here alone originally. You were a maybe, remember?" "You could have come with your sister," he replied, "or a friend from work, or by yourself like a lot of people do. Instead, you chose the one man you know is a problem for us." "He asked," I said. "You did not." As soon as the words left my mouth, I knew how they sounded. Andrew exhaled slowly. "So, this is a competition now?" he asked. He texts, "Do you need a +1?" And that is all it takes to override every conversation we have ever had about boundaries. "You are turning this into something it is not," I said, feeling heat rise in my face. "If you had just said clearly you were coming, this would not even be an issue. I thought you did not care enough to show up. I did not want to sit alone." He looked at me for a long moment. "Do you hear yourself?" he asked almost softly. "You did not get the exact reassurance you wanted, exactly when you wanted it, so you chose the most dramatic option available, and then blamed me for making you do it." "That is not what happened," I began, but he held up a hand. "I am not going to argue with you in the middle of your cousin's reception," he said. "You have made your choices very visible. I am simply adjusting mine." "What is that supposed to mean?" I asked. "You will see," he replied. Then, calmly, he picked up the 2 drinks, nodded a polite, "Excuse me," and walked back toward the dance floor, where Hannah was waiting. The DJ seemed determined to squeeze as many sentimental songs as possible into the night. As Andrew reached Hannah, the opening chords of another slow song floated through the room. He handed her one of the glasses, said something that made her laugh, then set them both down and held out his hand. She took it. They moved on to the floor, just a meter or two from where Adam had resumed his place, watching everything with an uncomfortable expression. I returned to our table on legs that did not feel entirely steady. "You two look like you need a referee," Adam muttered. "This is not funny," I said. "I am not laughing," he replied. We stood side by side, watching. Andrew and Hannah danced like they had done it before. Easy rhythm, natural distance, comfort in each other's presence. He leaned down to say something in her ear. She threw her head back and laughed. Something twisted in my chest. It was one thing to know, in an abstract way, that my husband worked with women who admired him, that he was attractive and kind and reliable, that other people saw his good qualities. It was another thing entirely to see one of those women in his arms, while he very pointedly did not look in my direction. I tried to tell myself he was performing, that this was just about getting back at me. But the worst part was, it did not look forced. It looked like he was simply allowing himself to behave the way he always could have, if he had not been so focused on proving to me that he was steady and safe. I suddenly remembered all the times I had told him he was too calm, too predictable, too serious. Well, here he was. Not so predictable anymore. Adam cleared his throat. "Do you want to leave?" he asked. There was no challenge in his voice, just a quiet offer. "No," I said, even though yes was screaming inside me. "I will not be chased out of my own family's event." "Suit yourself," he said. We kept standing there, like spectators at our own lives. At one point, Hannah accidentally caught my eye. Her expression was not smug like I expected. It was pity. That made it so much worse. After the song ended, I could not take it anymore. I marched back to the dance floor, heart hammering, heels clicking a little too loudly. "Andrew," I said, forcing my voice to stay level, "can we please talk somewhere private?" He looked at me, then at Hannah. "I think we have said enough for tonight," he replied. "This is not the time or place." "Then when?" I demanded. "When you are back at your desk pretending nothing happened? When you are sending emails with her sitting right there?" A few people around us shifted uncomfortably. "Nora," he said quietly, "lower your voice." "Why?" I asked. "You were not worried about scenes when you walked in here with her on your arm." "I walked in through the main doors of a public event with a colleague after changing my mind and deciding to attend," he said. "You arrived clinging to your ex after telling everyone, including me, that you would most likely be alone." "So this is about who did what first," I shot back. "Because if we are keeping score—" "I am not keeping score," he cut in. "I am drawing a line." The simplicity of that sentence stunned me more than any dramatic speech would have. Before I could respond, Adam appeared at my side. "Maybe you two should cool off," he suggested, hands raised in that peacemaker gesture. "This is not really the space for—" Andrew's gaze flicked to him. "Thank you for your concern," he said, tone polite to the point of frost. "But this is not about you anymore. You were an option she chose. I am just acknowledging that choice." He turned to me. "I will not fight you for your attention," he added. "You already showed where you want it." Then he stepped back and offered his arm to Hannah again. "Do you want to get some air?" he asked her. She hesitated. "I do not want to be in the middle of something," she said quietly. "You already are," he replied, "but you did nothing wrong. Come on." They walked out toward the terrace. I stood there in the middle of the dance floor, feeling as if someone had just spotlighted all my worst decisions. I escaped to the patio at the side of the building, away from where Andrew and Hannah had gone. Adam followed after a minute. I rounded on him. "You are very quiet for someone who talks so much," I snapped. "Got nothing to say." He leaned against the railing, staring out at the parking lot lights. "What exactly do you want me to say?" he asked. "That he is overreacting? That you did nothing wrong?" "That would be a start," I said bitterly. He snorted softly. "I am not going to lie just because it would make you feel better for 10 minutes, he said. "You know this looks terrible, right? I did not do anything with you, I insisted. We did not kiss. We did not sneak off together. We danced, we laughed. If he trusted me, that would not be a problem. This is not about what did or did not happen in some hidden corner, Adam said, turning to look at me. This is about the fact that you did not tell him you were bringing me, because you knew he would not like it, and you did it anyway. He is the one who said he was too busy, I fired back. He made it clear the wedding was not a priority. He cannot suddenly show up now and act hurt. He told you there was a chance he could not make it, Adam corrected. You decided that meant he did not care at all. Those are not the same thing. He let me find someone else, I insisted, listening to how weak it sounded and hating that I could not stop. He told you to bring a friend, Adam said. You brought the one person you know he has history with. He paused. Look, I am not trying to take his side, he added. I am not exactly his biggest fan, but even I can see this was a bad idea. For both of us. Then why did you offer to come? I demanded. I thought you had cleared it with him, he said simply. You kept saying he knew that you were honest about it. I believed you. That is on me. The truth of that landed heavily between us. Because the reality was, I had not actually lied outright. I had just left out the important details, the ones that would have forced me to face his answer. I thought he would not show, I muttered. I thought he would choose work like he always does. I wanted to feel like I mattered to someone that day. Is that really so terrible? Adam looked at me for a long moment. It is not terrible to want to feel important, he said. It is terrible to use people as proof. I laughed once, humorless. Thank you for the reminder, I said. Do you want a medal for being so wise tonight? He shook his head. No, he said. I want to go home. I blinked. What? I asked. You are leaving. Honestly, yes, he said. This stopped being fun about 10 minutes ago. I did not sign up to stand in the middle of a marriage falling apart in front of your entire family. You cannot leave me here, I said, panic rising. People will talk even more. They will say you stormed out. They will think. They already think everything, he said. And they are not completely wrong. Look, Nora, we had our time. It ended. Tonight was a mistake. You need to figure out what you want with him without using me as a prop. A prop, I repeated, offended. If the word fits, he said quietly. Then he added more gently, I hope you work it out, or at least learn from it. But I am not going to be the person you point to later and say, he ruined my marriage. That is not mine to carry. Before I could respond, he walked back inside. 10 minutes later, when I returned to the hall, his seat at our table was empty. He had left, without even saying goodbye to my family. When I checked my phone, there was one message from him. I called you a cab. It will be outside at midnight. Do not call me about this. Take care of yourself. The irony of that sentence, take care of yourself, hit me like cold water. Because that was exactly what I had not done. I had taken care of my ego, and now everyone else was quietly stepping away from the scene. Andrew did not come back into the hall after that conversation. I stayed another hour, pretending nothing was wrong, smiling too hard at relatives, avoiding questions with vague answers. I think he went to have a call, I told one aunt. He left early, big meeting tomorrow, I told another. Nobody believed me. By the time the cab arrived, the reception was in full loud mode. Dance tracks, people barefoot on the dance floor, jackets off. I slipped out the side door like someone leaving a performance they did not want to clap at. The driver confirmed my name, opened the door, and turned on the radio quietly. As the car pulled away, my phone buzzed. For a second, I thought it might be Adam. It was Andrew. My heart jumped. Stupid hope that he might say, "Come home, we need to talk properly. Let's not do this like children." Instead, the first message said, "You chose your ex as your partner tonight. I chose not to be the backup option." I stared at the screen. Sweet, simple sentences are somehow the most brutal. Before I could type a reply, A second message popped up. Do not rush home. I have packed your things. My throat closed. I typed with shaking hands. What are you talking about? We are not doing this over text. Wait for me. We can talk. No response. A third message came instead. The suitcase is in the hallway. The key you have will still work tonight. Tomorrow, it will not. That last line hit me harder than any accusation, not because of the logistics, because it was so final. He was not only done with the evening, he was done with the arrangement where I walk in and out as I please, expecting him to stand there waiting. The cab ride home felt both too fast and endless. Every streetlight brought me closer to a conversation I did not know how to start anymore. When we stopped in front of our building, I sat there for a moment, staring at the entrance. The driver glanced in the mirror. Everything okay? He asked. Not really, I said honestly, but it will have to be. I walked up the stairs in my too high heels, the hem of my dress brushing against my legs. Our door looked the same, beige, clean, familiar. I unlocked it. For a moment, I actually expected him to be on the couch, like in all those movie scenes, waiting with folded arms. He was not. The first thing I saw was the suitcase. My suitcase, standing by the wall, zipped up neatly. Next to it, a smaller bag with my toiletries, carefully packed. My coat draped over the top. My favorite mug, wrapped in tissue, sat in the side pocket. On top of the suitcase was an envelope with my name. I opened it with numb fingers. Inside was a short note in Andrew's handwriting. You say I am always too calm, too predictable, that you never feel a sense of risk with me. Tonight you created your own risk and made it public. I will not stay where I am treated like the safe background while you flirt with the idea of other lives. You are free to go to weddings with whoever you like. I am free to decide I no longer want to be the person you come home to afterwards. You can stay here tonight. Tomorrow, I will come back with someone from my family to get the rest of my things. We will talk about the practical details later, calmly, through messages or with help, not in the middle of another event. For now, consider this the end of how things were. Andrew. I read it twice. There were no insults, no dramatic declarations, just quiet decisions. I walked into the bedroom. His side of the closet was half empty, not completely cleared, just enough that I could see the gaps where his shirts had been. The photo of us from our honeymoon was no longer on his nightstand. In its place was nothing. That somehow hurt more than anything. I changed out of the dress, wiped off my makeup, and sat on the edge of the bed with the note in my hand. My mind spun in circles. Part of me was outraged. He did this too fast. He did not give me a chance to explain. He humiliated me by bringing her to the wedding, not the other way around. Another part of me, the one that had been quietly watching from the back of my mind all day, whispered, "You gave him every reason to believe you had already chosen someone else, at least emotionally." What exactly did you expect him to do? I tried to construct a version where I was the injured one. He had brought a coworker. He had danced with her. He had smiled at her. But underneath that, I could not erase the fact that I had constructed this whole situation on a foundation of half-truths. I did not tell him about Adam. I did not ask his opinion honestly. I did not consider how it would feel for him to walk into a room and see his wife on another man's arm at a family event. I just told myself, if he really loved me, he would know I am not doing anything wrong. That logic sounds nice when you want permission to do what you want without consequences. It sounds naive when you are sitting in a quiet apartment with your life in a suitcase by the door.